it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it.
And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it. Ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it. Talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it.
It's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it.
And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it. Ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it. And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it.
It's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it.
And it's a ticket, talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a a comma, gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it. Comma and a comma and a comma, gotta get it, get it, get it, get it. Comma and a comma, gotta get it.
Welcome to another episode of Head to Head with Brian Parker. I am he. And we are back for another week of great discussions and good times. Hope everybody out there is doing well. We are streaming live on LinkedIn, Facebook, as well as, those always itches when I'm on air, and YouTube. If you are on YouTube, we are there for Empowered Network TV. You can please like, share, and subscribe. We would greatly appreciate that. Head to Head with Brian Parker also appears on our Roku and Amazon Fire TV channel. Oh my God. On our Amazon Fire TV channel at Empower TV Network. And let me go ahead and do my Barry Manilow so we can get the Carlton done. Oh, maybe not. Anyway, let's go ahead and welcome our very lively panelists today. We have Lori Lolo Parker. How you doing, Lori?
How you doing? How you doing?
How you doing? And we have the man that needs no introduction. However, I'll introduce him anyway. This is the one, the only, the franchise, the one that brings us all of the viewers from all over the world, particularly the women in the demographic of R. Kelly all the way through. When you say R. Kelly, that's not even really an age number yet. You have to say, you just have to let it know they're a little bit on the younger side. So, but they love him. It doesn't mean that he did anything wrong. They just happen to love him because of his bald head. So I'm not saying that, ladies. You don't have to protect your children. But they do love him, and great father of two. And we are joined by the franchise, Mr. Jermaine Parker. How you doing, sir?
Good, brother. Good. How you doing?
Man, I am doing good. I am living the life.
Good.
Yeah. Can't complain. Welcome back.
I've been voting for you, so.
Oh, yeah. I've almost forgot all about that. So, what Jermaine is referencing is that the Queen City Awards is a local awards program. Has found it in their gracious hearts to have me as one of the listed nominees for Actor of the Year. So if you could be so kind, if you have time, you don't have to, but I'll send you fake $20 bills in the mail. No, I'm sorry, that's a crime. But I would send you fake $20 bills. If you go to queencityawards.com and vote Brian Parker as
New Actor of the Year.
New Actor of the Year. There we go. New Actor of the Year. Our friend and co-panelist, Mr. CJ Jones, and his wife, what's her name? Catherine? Yeah. Catherine are also up for their show for Podcast of the Year.
Yeah, I vote for them too. It's easy. Just want Europe top, they're at the bottom, and then submit. I don't know about the other categories.
Yeah. Now, the cool thing is that you can put in different email addresses. So if you like me and you have 4 different email addresses, you can actually do it 4 times a day if you so choose. If you're just thinking about me and you're rooting for me, I appreciate that as well. If you went in and voted and you're doing it on a regular basis, I appreciate that as well too. I think all the voting goes through September the 24th. And then shortly thereafter, I think it's the first week of October weekend, they will actually have the award shows at the Connected Center in Salisbury. Also, the Connected Center hosts events all through the week. I know on Tuesdays they have their food truck Tuesdays, as well as on Fridays they have a little karaoke get together. So if you're in the Charlotte, Salisbury area and wanting something to do on a Friday night, go check them out. Definitely. Also, let you guys know too is that it is that time of the year again. I don't know if you can smell it, but I certainly can. Football season is in the air, ladies. This is the time of the year where your husbands may start to seem a little bit more distant than they have before. And there are going to be a couple of reasons for that. College football is on. Well, hold on. Let me back up. I'm sorry. because we are in the South. Friday night football, high school football, is going to start ramping up. I am going to catch a few of those games myself. Bro, if you got time, let's go get it.
All right, I'm with you.
Yeah, let's go catch one or two or three.
I haven't been to one of those games in a long time. I would love to go.
Yeah, you know, I'm just trying to wait for a couple of them to see how many shootouts they're going to be, and then kind of judge accordingly. If it gets a little cooler, it's a lot easier to hide my bulletproof vest. You know, in the summertime, walking around with flap jackets and bulletproof vests is a little crazy, but it's a little hot too. You know, I ain't gonna lie, them things are heavy. But Lori, you're more than welcome to come too. I just don't want you every 5 minutes going, okay, what's going on? Anyway, so listen.
First of all, why would you even say that? Because that is not what I do.
I know you just stand up like Eddie Murphy and Coming to America.
No.
Oh no, I hope you don't do that. I hope you don't pull in the Keem on me.
Listen, I have never done that.
Okay, fine then. I'll unchain you and you can come. So anyway, so Friday nights we got high school football. Saturday is going to be college football. This is going to be a better season, I'm hoping. Just because we're another year removed away from COVID, even though COVID still exists. I mean, you know, I don't want to get it twisted. COVID
and monkeypox.
And now, so now we got all that going on. But things are getting a little bit closer to normal and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see how the college football season shakes out this year. Those Georgia Bulldogs finally brought it home last year. And that was really good to see somebody other than Ohio State or Alabama actually take it. So that was very refreshing. This year it'll be North Carolina. Okay, maybe not. Maybe on the video game. But then on Sundays, oh, I'm sorry, and even on Thursdays, I forgot Thursday night, ladies, this is how you're going to lose your husbands. Football starts on Thursday night. You got Thursday night NFL football, which I believe this year will be on Amazon. Is that right, Jermaine?
Yes.
Amazon is streaming the Thursday night games, and I'll talk about that in 2 seconds. But then, so you got Thursday night NFL, Lori, Friday night high school football, Saturday college football, Sunday the full NFL schedule, Monday night football, and the first couple of weeks, I believe they even have double headers.
Yeah. So
if you want, you may have to talk to your husband on Tuesday and Wednesday at best. Okay. Anthony says China bringing in all that mess over here. We've been through enough last year. Oh, here you go with the China. You have to say China. But anyway, so ladies, it's about to get real for the next 6 months. Yeah, it's gonna get real. And then college basketball is right around the corner, right around November the 1st, October 31st weekend. Then you're gonna have college basketball. And if you're in the South, ACC, country, Carolina, Duke, all that kind of thing going on too. So it's gonna be rough on y'all for the next couple of months. I get it. So
we'll survive.
All of that,
we'll work it out.
You won't survive, but I'm gonna help you survive. This is my public service announcement. I'm gonna do you ladies a solid, and here you go. You're welcome. Every week, my co-host Randall Hargrove and I have a show called Head to Head Sports on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Where right now we are going through the preseason as the regular season starts next week on Thursday. We will be going through all 32 teams. We've already done 3 weeks, so we've done 24. We got 8 to go. We'll be covering the NFC West and the AFC West. 2 very tough divisions, might I add, in their respective conferences. So we'll cap that off on Wednesday, give our predictions for offensive player of the year, defensive player of the year, offensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year, conference champions, as we've already gone through as we went, but then also really talking about who's going to make the playoffs and the sort, and who's ultimately going to hoist the Lombardi Trophy, winning the Super Bowl in the end. If you are a New York Jets fan, I can go ahead and give you a spoiler. It won't be you. Sorry, just letting you know. If you're a Carolina Panthers fan, it won't be you either. So,
Yeah.
Anthony had a comment.
And most importantly, Lori, if you were one of them Hal Bottoms, if you one of them DC Frales, you ain't going neither. So you might not.
Anthony actually had a comment.
Might not even make it to the playoffs. Anthony said, I told my wife, don't talk to me during the games, only on half times. Anthony, that might be a little dangerous because halftime only 15 minutes, and you know some women can blow, boy.
Excuse me, Brian.
15 minutes might not be enough, unless you got a remote to control that. Yeah, you might just tell her to wait till after the game. Whatever you had to say, babe, just write it down. Or tell us in your email message.
I'm going to ask you this, and this just as a general question. Whenever football is on, what do I generally ask you? And I don't ask you during games, during commercials.
See, you've been domesticated.
No. I ask you two things.
Yeah.
Are you hungry?
Yep.
Do you need something to drink? Other than that, I don't ask you nothing else.
But look, you don't need to tell all them other ladies how good I got it. They got to get to that point. Listen. The horse that been broke in don't sit there and play with the stallions. Okay?
Exactly.
See, you broke in. You don't be going out there with them wild horses. They'll kill you. So listen, ladies, the reason I want you to thank me is because you have the opportunity every Wednesday to either watch the show live or go back, watch it at your leisure on our Empower TV network on Roku or Amazon Fire TV. Get up to speed about what your husband's favorite team is doing, what the NFL is doing. Then as you're going back and you're sitting with your husband and you see a pass interference call or defensive holding, offsides or things like that, they'll look at you and go, how do you know that? Or you start talking about cover 2 defenses, single high safety blitzes. You start talking about 11 personnel, 21 personnel, jumbo packages, trips, X package, slots, and all of that kind of stuff. They're going to look at you like, you're going to find all of that on our show. So we'll be talking about that, breaking it down, what teams really have good quarterback play, strong offensive lines, who's hurt, who's in, all those types of things, what coaches are going to be on the hot seat, all that stuff we'll talk about every Wednesday going forward for the rest of the season. Then on Thursday will be the first game of the year where many people are already forecasting this to be a preview potentially of the Super Bowl. It will be between those Buffalo Bills and the LA Rams. Those are the teams that a lot of people are saying have the best odds to make it to the Super Bowl. And game 1, they're playing each other. It don't get no better than that. I don't know if they're going to both make it to the Super Bowl. I haven't made my predictions, so I really don't know. But it was too easy to forecast the Bills and the Rams for me. The Rams did win it last year, and the odds of a team going back to back, it just doesn't happen that often. We got spoiled a lot of years with New England doing it. But normally that just doesn't happen like that. There's so many things that happen. Other teams in your division get a lot better and things like that. And honestly, getting to the Super Bowl is just as much about skill and coaching as it is about luck. Sometimes a ball bouncing a certain way, or a player dropping a pass, or somebody intercepting a pass, or all those types of things can change the outcome of was that a Slurpee from Quick Trip? Lori, that sounds like a great idea. Look at him go. don't do that. Like a porn star. But
trying to spam my audience.
So I see. That's on our OnlyFans, empoweronlyfans.com. Or OnlyFans / empower. Lori, you don't go to that site. Very bad things after midnight. Don't go there. Anyway, so NFL season is amongst us, so that's going to be good. Before we get started on some of the other things, Jermaine, we really wanted you on. We're glad that you're on. For those that don't know, Jermaine is actually not only in our Air National Guard and has been serving our country for quite some time, and we always thank him for his service there. But Jermaine is also a very, very good realtor as well. He did sell Lori and I our house, which we love, love, love. Just beautiful, beautiful house. And Jermaine can help you too. If you are in the market looking to sell your house or buy a house, you can definitely reach out to him. Jermaine, how can they reach out to you?
It's easy. You can either look for me for my website, which should be Jermaine Parker Realty LLC.com. You can follow me on any social media. So whether it be Facebook, just looking for Jermaine Parker, and I have a realtor page, so Jermaine Parker Realty page. If you're looking for that, I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, all those things. Put a note in something in the show notes for a link or whatever. But just Google me. I'm out there. Or you can write your Empower, and they can get contact information.
Absolutely, absolutely, Jay. We bought our first house, and the things that we learned were so invaluable. Just learning the different nuances of things. And in the very near future, I definitely want to bring Heather and some of the folks from the Acella team on and talk about things from a mortgage lending standpoint. But there's always that question, is it a good time to buy? Is it a good time to sell? And I know that question is permeating now more than ever because the Fed has been taking the interest rate back up, all the inflation out there and everything else. We're hearing stories in the media about the housing market has cooled down. Even things like, selling prices aren't rising as fast. People aren't getting more than their asking price and stuff like that. So can you clear up some of that? Is it a good time to buy and sell?
So I think everything's in context, right? And so sometimes we have to go backwards before we can go forward. So let me take you back a little bit. So because of the pandemic and a lot of other economic factors, we found ourselves with increasingly decreasing interest rates. And what that really did was it allowed buyers to buy more home than they could normally afford when interest rates were 3%. I bought my house, this house I'm in now, back in 2016, and I got a really good interest rate. And I want to say it was like a 3.7. And that was really good. It was historically low at the time. But as the years came on, 2017, 2018, interest rates actually dropped down to sub 2 interest rates for some people there for a while and stuff before they started rebounding and coming back up. One of the things of interest is that when the Fed raises their rates, it actually drives down mortgage rates. And what it is the Feds are raising their rates because it signals to the market that the government is trying to corral what we all know of us kind of being in a recessionary period and stuff, and the inflation that comes along with that. So when the Feds are raising their rates, it doesn't mean interest rates are going up. It means the Fed is asserting more control of the market, which gives buyers more confidence and banks more confidence to actually lower the rates. So what you've seen in the last couple of months with the Feds raising their rates is the interest rates have kind of bounced up and down a little bit. They were actually getting towards higher sixes. I think I saw for this week they were down to like 5.3, but at one point in the last couple of weeks, I saw them as low as like 4.7. Where do I think they will be in the next little bit? I'll get to that too. But so what happened is that a lot of people started buying houses, and actually a lot of corporations and people that wanted to renters started buying houses and stuff with the increased use of Airbnb and markets like that, where people were easily renting out places and stuff. A lot of people wanted to leverage real estate, as many millionaires have before them, to buy property. So this will all make sense once I put it together. So you've got low interest rates, you got a lot of people buying stuff, and then what really happened in the last 18 months is that the prices just start soaring for houses. It was just like a frenzy free for all because all these people had access to this easy money and stuff, and they were getting loans and stuff, really good interest rates and stuff, and that just drove. So all the low price houses, all the LLCs and people out there, they were buying those houses up, and people were just in already from the last housing crisis, 08, 09. There was a low inventory nationwide. Now, real estate is market by market, neighborhood by neighborhood. Just because Charlotte is on fire doesn't necessarily mean that Newton is on fire or Raleigh's on fire and stuff, or anywhere across the country. It is local stuff. But at least in our area and stuff, the prices started gaining very, very much, and we got overinflated and stuff because it was low inventory, high demand, and a lot of access to funds. And so what happened was a bid war started, and it started driving up the price of housing. So a house that was listed for like $220,000 was selling for $3.
Wow.
And so what it did was it overinflated the prices and stuff. As that was going on, inflation was creeping in, and the interest rate starts coming back up. Basically, now, if you look from now to say a year ago, where the rates have like doubled and stuff, people can afford, let's say, average of $500, $600 less house than they could a year ago, based on those rates.
Is that more of a self-correction though?
So this is a correction and not a
regression.
Not a regression and stuff. It really is just a correction. So, but there's a couple factors in that, because and the rates are one factor of it, but not so much in my mind. What's happened is that there were a lot of people. I had a guy back in January look for a house, and he was overqualified to go get a house and stuff. But the bidding wars were so much. I mean, we must have looked at, I don't know how many houses we looked at. And for the first part of our looking in January, we couldn't even bid on the house because every time we went to go look at a house, it was already off market. Like he'd be like, "Hey, I found this house. I want to go look at it." We try to go look at it, and for like 7 days in a row, I was getting calls either before walking into the house or in the house. Hey, we're in the contract. Hey, we're in the contract. Hey, we're in the contract. Wow. And it was just to the point where we just couldn't even get a bid in on a house. And then once it cooled down a little bit, to houses were out there for like 3 or 4 days, the bids were ridiculous. $30,000-$40,000 asking stuff. And what happened with that guy was he's like, I'm just going to rent for another year and I'll see what happens. And I think a lot of people, there was a lot of buyer exhaustion, where they went out there and they looked for houses and stuff. And so the demand is partly because of that, because people went out there and they've already made plans for the next year because they had to find somewhere to stay. And they're like, hey, I'll stay here. I'll renew this lease. I'll do whatever I have to do, but it just does not seem to be a good time. And so a lot of people, even though the demand started to turn down a little bit, the interest rate started going up. People can afford less house, right? And a lot of people in the last year have kind of come back and said in surveys and stuff, we think we paid too much for our house. And they might be right. Well, they probably are right, because now people who are trying to sell their houses thinking that they could sell it like it was 6 months ago, where they could put out a house that was like $350,000, thinking that they were going to get $67,000, $80,000 over asking for that house. What they're finding is there's not that many qualified buyers out there still looking for houses. Go ahead.
What I'm glad you said that, where you said some people now feel like they overpaid. Is that going to affect? So if they overpaid, and they probably did, then that also means that if that house was appraised, it probably wouldn't be appraised at what they paid for it. Is that right?
Well, it depends. So appraisals for properties are kind of moving targets, right? Basically, what appraisal says is what has everybody paid for in your area, normally within a quarter mile, and that's why I say real estate is local. Within a quarter mile of where you live, what do the prices look like now? What are people paying for houses now?
So even then, if a lot of people in your area did the same thing, that could move the appraisal one way.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
maybe you're one of the few houses in your area that jumped on that wagon and kind of paid a more inflated price. The distance between the price of your home and the other prices in the area may be such where the appraisal will look like you well overpaid for your house.
It could. So here's the thing, and Trevor Smith, the mortgage wingman. You can find. I follow him, and so if you follow me, you can follow him. Trevor's great for putting out videos and stuff. And one of the things that he says is it's not a good time to buy a house, which is a realtor. I'm like, Trevor, you're crazy. But what he says as a caveat to that is that if you're trying to mimic the 12% growth in home values that happened over the last year, and you're thinking you're going to be in a house for like 1 or 2 years and you're going to make $100,000, then you shouldn't be trying to buy a house.
Okay.
If you're trying to stay in your house for the next 5 to 10 years, preferably 8 to 10 years, I think even if you overpaid, the value of your house won't be so bad, right? You'll still maintain a lot of that value. And again, it's local, right? And so it's hard to say without me actually looking at it. What does it look like? But the great thing is like if you live in the Charlotte area, Charlotte has been noted as one of the places that had a lot of high over evaluation, as it were, for home prices and stuff. But Bank of America, and I'm going to get more information, just announced a program where their minorities, they're going to do down payment free loans and closings for minorities. There's going to be stipulations on income and stuff like that. And when I get that information, I'll be more than happy to talk to you about it. But
Okay.
As a minority myself, if a bank's talking about they're going to let me buy a property and I don't have to put anything down, I'm going to look into that.
You gotta listen.
You gotta listen to that. The idea is to open up more homeowner experiences for people who have traditionally been discriminated against in that arena. But like I say, right now, the big thing is that houses are people have a need for housing. That's not going away. If you live in Charlotte, they're tearing down every tree to make a townhome, an apartment. Small developers are making 2 or 3 house cul-de-sac neighborhoods. Big developers are telling down acres of land, trying to make houses. The demand for housing is still there because it's a basic necessity. People have to live.
Right.
They need somewhere to live. But what you find now is that a lot of people, again, made other plans after finding the market to be, because most people, now the people I deal with, don't have $40,000, $50,000 unless they've just sold a house, right?
Right.
So if I just sold your house for you and now you have that money and you're going to turn that money over into your next house and stuff, sure. And that's where a lot of people were getting that cash from, or they were borrowing against their 401ks or wherever they got the cash from to make them competitive in that market. So I will tell them, to anybody looking to buy a house, you don't have to come with the 20,000 over, right? The market has cooled off. Again, in part because of interest rates. Buyer fatigue, I think, was a heavy player in that, where people were just tired of writing offers that were getting rejected and not looked at.
I see Lori's face because we experienced that slightly. I probably not Lori as much as other people had, but we had thrown our hat in the ring a few times and it kind of gotten turned back where we had put in a bid, but they didn't take that offer because we pretty much refused to go but so far above the asking price. And I was letting Lori know, hey, we got to be very strategic with that, because number one, if that house won't be appraised for the amount that we're offering, then we have to cover the distance between what the appraiser says and what we offer. So unless you're prepared to do that, and it was already clear to me that, Jermaine, it was probably possible that we were losing out to some deeper pocket corporations that did not have a problem with overpaying $10, $15, $20,000 of asking, because they could recoup those funds and fees pretty quickly anyway, because of what they were going to use those properties for.
Yeah, it's so I just got a leader for a new client, and their budget is first time home buyer, which I deal a lot with for whatever reason. If there's any millionaires that want to buy a house, I'd like to work with you too. But
equal opportunity,
right? But I like the idea of helping people get their first homes too. I actually kind of got into the business to help people, not to hinder the business and stuff. And so it's not the most what word am I looking for?
Glamorous.
It's not glamorous, and it's not the best money making thing to be working at the bottom of the market, helping everything. I'm not going to retire doing that, I don't think, but I will definitely have a lot of happy people if I can help them out finding some unique opportunities and just explaining to them how the market's going. Like honestly, right now, if you're looking in the Charlotte area, and your budget, and again, does interest rates play a large part into what's affordable for you now? And man, I'd have to get a calculator. And I try to stay in my lane when it comes to numbers and stuff, because I've got like Heather and Trevor and Tanya. I know a lot of lenders, and I let them speak to the numbers for people and what's affordable to find their budget and stuff. But let's just say, for big numbers' sake, 6 months ago or a year ago, when interest rates were down in the threes and stuff, and now they're mid fives and stuff, they're almost double. You're losing about $500 a month on what you can pay for a mortgage. And so let's say that I mean, your job hasn't changed anything and stuff. It's just what you could afford. So what you could get for $1,200 back then is now $1,700, and that $1,700 a month is out of your price range. And so, but the stuff that's $1,200 a month is in the $200,000 range. Well, if you're looking at Charlotte right now, if you don't have some plaster, a nail gun, and you're willing to put in some sweat equity and stuff, what you get for $200,000 in Charlotte right now is almost nothing.
Or a fixer-upper.
And when I say
it's not even a fixer-upper, it's a shack.
I mean, yeah, it's a shack. It's what 2 years ago would have been $70,000 is now $200,000 out there on the market and stuff. Something that you'd have looked at and go, yeah, if I had $40,000, I could do this and make this stuff. Really, and I should have pulled those numbers up before I started. But the last time I looked on in fact, I'll just look on my Instagram for, and it's Jermaine Parker /realtor if you want to look. So the money market overview says the average sale price in July was $458,635. The average list price was $471,000.
Wow.
And so when we start talking about median sale prices, we're talking about 385, and median is just throwing out the really high $1 million ones and the low $60,000 ones to get to the median. So let's use the median number of 385. So if your budget isn't 385, which again, I need a calculator, but let's just say that that's like $2,100 a month to get to that median in Charlotte. So if you can't, affordability is still a thing. Are the prices going to come down? Yeah, because things are going to sit out there longer and people want to sell their houses and stuff. And so they're going to come off this whole, because quite honestly, they're not really out of the area of when people were giving away $40,000, $50,000, $80,000, crazy numbers above asking and stuff. So some people are going to sit out there and wait, saying, "Hey, I'm just looking for that one buyer, right? That's going to come by and it's going to have that pocket full of cash." But if you're dealing with me, we're never going to offer you anything close to that. And most realtors, I work for my people. I'm trying to get you the cheapest price point that you can on a house and stuff. Just like if I was trying to sell your house, I would try to get you the most. But I work with a lot of buyers, and we're just not offering that kind of money right now because I see that your stuff's sitting out there for like 60 days, 30 days plus now, and it's slightly turned into where it's not your market. Just because of buyer interest, and like I said, qualified buyers coming to the table and what they can actually afford.
So that makes sense. So it's still supply and demand, just like other areas where leverage tilts. Of course, I work in the hotel business, and I always tell my owners as well that, like I just told somebody today in the hotel business, you have 3 ways of making money. You leverage your inventory because they have a lot of rooms. You leverage your rates, or you can leverage both depending on if the demand is so high, then you have an ability to leverage your inventory and your rates.
Yep.
And right now, because demand has softened in the travel industry, well, you can't leverage both. And if you've got a lot of rooms, if you have a huge property, now you may have the inventory, meaning that you have to be a little bit more flexible with the rate. If you have a smaller property, then maybe you can be a little bit more competitive with the rate that you offer because you don't have as many rooms to fill. So a lot of times it's all supply and demand. And, I tell people, for the hotel industry, unless you've got ski slopes in your backyard, we're about to come after on the other side of Labor Day into a time of the year where normally this is the best time to travel to hotels because their rates aren't as inflated as they are in the summertime season. So you have to kind of know where you are at certain times to really know what kind of leverage that you have.
And you bring up a great point. So in real estate, when is a great time to list your home? Well, during the summer. Why? Because people are moving during the summer, so they set their kids up for their new schools and stuff like that. And that's why they're moving and stuff. And so again, in real estate, sort of like your hotel business, the fall time is a horrible time to list your house because people are settled and they're not looking. The buyers out there are few and far between. And so that's another thing when we talk about the many factors of why the industry is cooling off right now, or the market's cooling off, depending upon where you live. That's a big one too. It's the time of year. And so there will be a spike around November, December, where it's good because schools are coming to a close. It's Christmas break. The time we got a long 2 weeks for most people for moving and getting settled again. And then again, entering kids into a new school year and stuff. And then it'll cool off again into the spring, summertime when people are starting looking to make that move during the summertime. So
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but then isn't demographics could also play a thing into it too, couldn't it then? So if you're a family where you have kids, maybe there are certain times of the year that work better for you to do this, where maybe if you're just a upcoming couple, not too far removed from college, still got a good bit of disposable income, have no kids yet, and you're a little bit more flexible in when you can buy it. Does that kind of play into it too?
So demographics. So there's a lot of things that play into it. When they propose public transportation, when companies announce that they're moving their corporations, their headquarters to Charlotte, there are a lot of demographics. What is the projection for maybe gentrification for a certain area and stuff that allows people to go, well, it doesn't matter what the rates are. I know if I want to live in this new neighborhood or this redesigned neighborhood and stuff, I need to hop in now. So there's a lot of different things that push and pull people to buy and sell. Um, Again, like I say, you might be like, for instance, if anybody in Charlotte doesn't understand that they're going to push the light rail up or down Wilkinson, however
I've been hearing about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're going to push light rail and stuff. So if you're talking about Amy Jane's, you're talking about all the neighborhoods. There's a Walmart over there, some neighborhoods behind there. They just put up some new apartments right behind that Walmart.
Yep.
A lot of places over there going down that main strip, because now they're going to have access to that light rail system. A lot of people are trying to either sell their homes to try to, or holding off, trying to, how long do I hold off trying to sell my home to a developer? Those kind of questions, like how do I maximize my return on this house, because I now view that this property, and a lot of those properties back there, those houses have been there since 40, 50 years. They've been paid off. They're just generational homes. Maybe that's grandma's house, and are we going to sell grandma's house because we don't want to pay taxes on it every year and stuff? If you do, please contact me. I'll get you the best deal. But a lot of people in that area, or there's people who want to buy grandma's house. Yeah. I've seen a lot of small developers who are going in there buying houses, either tearing down the house completely, because quite honestly, your house and floor plan are not the feng shui of 2022, and they're just going to tear your house down and build something entirely new, or they're going in there and they're going to renovate that thing as much as they can so they can get the maximum amount of money and further gentrify those areas and stuff. And so now is a good time. If you're looking for an investment property, well, that's an area that I would suggest. Now, it would have been better if you bought it like a year ago, but that's how real estate works. It's always better if you bought it a year ago.
Right.
So, look in those areas and stuff like that. But there's so many factors that make people push-pull about that. We're having a baby, and our apartment's too small.
Yeah.
We've got the dog. I've got my art studio or my podcast studio that I've got over here, and I need more room. One of the things that people found during the pandemic, for a long time, we were all about open floor plans and being able to go from one room to another room and stuff. And what people found through the pandemic with Zoom and stuff was that we need a room. Like, I need a dedicated room where I can do business and stuff. Like, this is my office, right? And I'm working over the next couple of weeks. I got a camera I'm trying to hook up. I'm trying to get my podcast equipment to talk to each other and stuff. I've got new monitors and stuff in here, and I'm trying to get my room together. And a lot of people are doing that, where they're focusing in on trying to make sure that they have a space where they can operate that's not so feng shui, but more functional for their businesses and stuff. So, I mean, yeah, so so people buy for so many different reasons and stuff, and they sell for exactly the same amount of reasons. But right now, in this area, I expect, 5%, whatever you're looking at right now. So we're looking at a 385 number, right? 10% is 38. So
38,000.
So, half of that, right? 17. You're looking at maybe $20,000 average price drop over the next year for what you're seeing now, just because of the demand. And so that's not anything to sneeze at. That's a good price drop, especially when again, interest rates are going up. People can afford less house. If the housing prices come down, that means, and it's a good thing. What you'll see is that when those prices, you'll see a false start. What I probably call it is that prices will come down, and the people will start getting back into, hey, I need to get out here and get a house, and it'll drive up the numbers, right? Because now we got the demand back again. You'll get that spike back up again, and then people will be like, oh, I don't want to play a game, and it'll come back down. So don't be startled by that kind of false start to the market and stuff. It's just, everything is up and down, it ebbs and flows. You can't be up forever, you can't be down forever.
Right. Okay. Very good. Very good. Jermaine, it's always good to just kind of talk about that, because a lot of what I like to hit on when we're talking about home ownerships and people wanting to look at purchasing a home for the first time. And there are a lot of scary things that people don't know or understand about that. And the one thing that I will say, not just because, you're my brother and you sold us our house, but you really make a lot of those things very, very easy to understand. It's like walking around with a doctor that can put it in layman's terms and not speak doctorese so much, but make it relatable and more understandable, so that it kind of takes away those dark clouds of angst from people, and you bring the anxiety level down just a little bit when it comes to what should I do and those kind of things. So you're definitely good with walking people through a lot of that.
Before we switch gears and stuff, I'd like to offer some quick little tips for you.
Yeah,
Number
go ahead.
one, if you're interested in buying a home, the first thing I would tell you to do is to reach out to a lender. That lender can do a soft pull or even a verbal pull. They don't have to pull your credit. They can just run the numbers for you, right? Just tell them, say, hey, ballpark, I think my credit is 650, 720, 803, whatever you think it is. This is how much I make, whatever and stuff. And they can tell you right now what you were qualified for. And then on top of that, if you wanted to go a little bit further, they can do a hard pull of your credit and stuff, and they can say, and they can tell you, because a lot of times we start talking to ourselves about what qualifies for a mortgage and stuff, and I'll guarantee you don't know. I'll guarantee you that you're paying off a JCPenney bill that they don't care about. I guarantee you that you're moving your money, and so if you could talk to a lender a year out from when you're thinking about buying and stuff, it gives them to give you a plan, and they'll do it because they see the return a year later, right? If you do what they say. And so they'll give you this advice. It's not free because they're going to charge you on the other end, right? You go back to them and stuff, but they can help set you up for that year later, where you have a firm idea of what you actually need to do to qualify for the amount of money that you want and the houses and stuff. Then the second part is talk to a real estate agent. Obviously I'm available.
You know any? Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, do you know any?
Yeah, I know one. He's all right. And they can have some plain talk to you. Like, it doesn't do me any good to lie, for so many different reasons. But for me personally and professionally, I need you on board with what we need to accomplish. And if we're not being realistic about our goals and what tools and resources that we have, then we're never going to get those goals. So you just need somebody, and that's probably the 2A. If I was going to measure this, don't just talk to one agent, talk to multiple agents. It's a very big purchase. Everybody's not the same. They don't operate the same. Yes, do we fill out the same forms? Do we all have the keys to the city kind of thing to look around? Yeah, but everybody's connections in terms of who their lenders are. Everybody doesn't have the same connections for inspectors and all these other things. So you really want to interview your agent. And if you can do those two things, you're well on your way to home ownership and stuff. And the last two things, it is not 20% down for FHA or conventional and stuff. You're looking at a down payment between 3 and 5%. And for closing costs too, remember, you got money up front and then you got money at the back for closing costs too. It's safe for at least 5% of what you think the price of your home is going to be.
All facts, as we found out. Yeah, we definitely qualified for the FHA and all that kind of stuff. So that was really good too. Jermaine, we'll definitely circle back on this. We're going to also reach out to probably like somebody like a Heather, because I know she also does a podcast too. I saw on her page talking about some things too. So we'll be very interested to pull her in. I got some real good mortgage questions, even from the realm of refinancing. How far out do you start thinking about when you refinance? Is it dependent on what the other I was going to say hotels, the other homes in your area are starting to sell for, and those types of things.
No, again, I'm trying to stay in my lane, but as a homeowner, refinancing comes down to a couple things. What are you using the money for? Are you trying to refinance to pull money out? Are you trying to refinance to lower your current mortgage stuff? And then the big thing is, what are the rates? Obviously, like, I refinanced my house. Like, I tried to tell everybody that had a house during like 2018 and stuff when they were getting down to the twos, and I got like a 2.25 interest rate. Well, with the interest rates where they are right now, there's absolutely no reason for me to refinance my home, right? Why am I going to go from a 2.25 to a 5 or 6? And it might even get as high as like 7.5. There would have to be some really, I would need to have to take the money out of my house to consider refinancing my house. So like I say, it's really about not so much about your neighborhood and marketing, because you're not trying to sell your house. You're trying to get money out or lower your rates.
Okay. Brad Compton. Hey, Brad. Good to hear from you, buddy. Brad said that was excellent advice for a first-time buyer. Many of us thinks it's absolutely impossible till we get into the process and realize that it's not that bad, generally speaking. And that Brad, that's why, I mean, Jermaine, and I know Michael Berry, also a friend of the show too, does a lot of real estate, and they are very, very good at being able to kind of just walk you through a lot of those hesitancies that you may have about home buying, and you feel like you're stuck in that constant cycle of renting. But there are going to be opportunities out there as far as home ownership, and we definitely want to make you all aware of that, because one of the things about this show is just to make sure that when we talk about head to head, that we're taking on some of these things head to head and overcoming those things, so that you don't always feel like my parents rented, I'm going to rent, my kids are going to rent, and it's just going to be that kind of way. That there's more to it than that out there.
It does not have to be that way. There is more mystery in it simply because we don't talk about it. But it's not you. A lot of people. That's the reason I say the first thing you have to do is talk to me. Is talk to a mortgage professional, because they can tell you. Your friends cannot tell you how to qualify for a loan, because they don't underwrite loans and they don't know what the rules are. Your lenders do. Mm-hmm. They can get you in the right way and go, yeah, if you want this interest rate or a better interest rate per se, because interest rates change week to week. But if you want a better one, this is how you qualify. You got to have the conversation. If you're stuck having that conversation in your house with not a professional involved and stuff, then you're probably going to be stuck. The process, once rolling and stuff, I think that Ryan and Lori will attest to. If you've got people on the lending side and on your real estate side who are communicating with you and telling you and demystifying a lot of these things, yes. That's just a big word for this. That's all that means. I wouldn't even be worried about this and that. This would be my concern.
Yeah.
Right? And so once you get that, you got people looking out for you who have a fiduciary responsibility to you to take care of you, that your needs are above my needs. Because like for you guys, I'm not trying to sell you $1 million home. If it is $1 million home, I'm trying to sell it. I'm trying to get you to buy it for $250. Now my commission would be better on $1 million home, but that's not my fiduciary duty. My duty is to make sure that you get what you need.
Correct. Oh, thank you again, Jermaine. We definitely appreciate that little nugget. Lori, before I end with him, did you have any questions or comments on that?
Well, I just thanks again, Jermaine, for all of your help during this process, because for me it was very, very interesting and trying time. But I just kind of laughed as you were sitting here and explaining about the ups and downs. Actually, one of the homes that we that was really overpriced that we went to see before we purchased our home, the home that we have, literally, which was in like the threes, has been steadily going down, steadily. And then
I know which one you're talking about too.
Back down. but it's still, and it's been sitting on the market, I think for I can't even remember how many days it sat before, but it was just really interesting. It's still there, and they still keep adjusting this price for this home.
You know, it is about people's ability to kind of forecast and stuff. And don't get me wrong. I mean, I look at a lot of stuff, just looking at the market daily and what it's doing, and then I infer, I guess, right. And so it's hard for people, especially when you start a number. Let's say that we talk about selling your house, and I tell you at the current market level and stuff, you could probably get 400,000 for it. 6 months ago, you'd have told me, because I had a buddy of mine, and he said, "Hey man, these housing prices are insane. What do you think I get for my house?" And I looked and I said, "Your house is worth like 420." He said, "That's crazy. I think I can get 600 for it." And I said, "Well, I don't have any numbers to support that hypothesis. If you want to list it for 600, we can, and we can see if somebody bites on this stuff." But what he would have seen, the same thing was that number would have keep decreasing and decreasing, decreasing. And at some point, somebody might have offered him like 5 something. And he's like, "No, I still think that's 6." And you want to listen to the professional who's telling you you're not going to get there. There might be one person, but that person has probably already bought their overpriced house. Yours could be an overpriced house. That's not going to work out. You got to listen to professionals. Just like when you're looking at head-to-head sports on Wednesdays at 6, you got to listen. You got to trust the professionals.
That's right, because the professionals will push back and let you know that Matt Ryan for the Indianapolis Colts is going to throw for at least 4,000 yards this year.
Yep, 6 yards at a time.
Even it may be 6 yards at a time, but at the end of, and you got to remember, there's 17 games that they play this year too, so that you got an extra game to get 250, 300-yard game. So he'll definitely do that. But anyway, so thank you, Jay. That was a very, very good and refreshing. Moving on, guys. I just like to say, down goes Palin. Down goes Palin. So if nobody knows what I'm talking about, long-term congressman from Alaska passed this year, and there was a special election to boy, that had to be a good one from Quick Trip, boy. We gotta go Quick Trip, Glory. That's right. We get ices from there too every now and then. But anyway, Sarah Palin was vying for Doug Young's spot since he had passed away earlier, and Alaska has one of those what they call them first select choice or some choice elections, where it doesn't matter what party you in, they kind of throw you all into one ballot and they go by who comes in first, second, third, and then the lowest one drops off, and then those persons' votes get reallocated to the next ranked choice voting.
Yes, that's because New York does that as well.
Right, they rank out who they.
It's crazy to me.
They rank out first, second, third, and all that stuff, and then the person that has the fewest, they drop off. So then those votes get reallocated to the person's second choice, and it keeps going around and around until they get to a 50%, and whoever has 50% wins. So it's not a Democrat versus a Republican, and they match up in a general election or anything like that. So they had their ranked choice. People just assumed that with Donald Trump's backing, Sarah, I can see my house from Alaska, Palin, was going to probably pull this off. Now, this is crazy that they put all this money into this, because it's just a special election. They still got to run when the state's actually up and do this all over again. Well, Sarah Palin did not win. There's a lady by the last name of Patola, I believe that's how you say her name, of Patolia, who is a native Alaskan, who actually won the election. First Native Alaskan to actually win that win the seat. So congratulations to her. Oh, by the way, she's a Democrat. And that hadn't happened in a very, very long time.
40-something years.
Yes. And the thing with Alaska is they only get one congressperson. So, a lot of states get a lot more, but they only get one. So she will be that one, and Sarah Palin is going to be on the outside looking in once again. So we wish you well, Sarah. You can go back to your reality shows or Dancing with the Stars, or
Evidently, she can't see Congress from her front porch.
yeah, she
No,
can't.
absolutely not.
She definitely won't be able to see Congress either. So how about that? Next, Joe Biden did the most terrible thing he possibly could do. He kept one of his campaign promises.
Oh, you never should do that.
Oh my gosh! And the pearl clutching and hypocrisy. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You got to get that Kona. It's always about the Kona.
This corner's killing me. I'm sorry, boys.
You gotta swirl it around a little bit. Loosen it up a little bit. The little chop method to me always helps too, Jay. But they just don't make that straw.
It's cheer wine. If you're wondering what the flavor is.
Oh, we figured it was cheer wine. Which I asked you if you checked your sugar today, but that's a whole nother thing. He's like, "What's that?"
As high as giraffe pussy.
That's pretty high. If you ever try to make it out with a giraffe. But anyway, not that I have lately. But anyway, Joe Biden said all during his campaign that he wanted to bring down or do some student loan forgiveness. And that's been going on and on and on for his first almost 2 years that he's been in office. When is he going to do it? When is he going to do it? I even said on this show, I said, y'all, Joe Biden is going to forgive some student loan debt, but he ain't going to do it before the summer is over because he wants to wait.
So people can remember.
So people could remember right in time for the election. Before I jump more into that, Brad says, oh my God, we were in the South about a month ago. My son had cheer wine for the first time and felt absolutely in love. Miles, hey, listen, if Dr. Pepper is too medicine-y, and I know that's not a real word, but people know what that is.
Yes, absolutely. It's like medicine.
Dr. Pepper is too medicine-y.
Mm-hmm.
Cheer wine is an alternative. It was made in North Carolina. It's a big-time North Carolina soda, even though it is sold in Georgia and South Carolina as well. But once you get north of the Mason-Dixon line, you don't see cheer wine.
Only on Amazon, though.
Only on Amazon, and it will cost you a mortgage.
Yeah.
But cheer wine is definitely the thing. Brad, I brought Lori down one time. We were visiting North Carolina. We were still living in New York, and we stopped at a cookout restaurant, and she didn't even know what a cookout was. And I ordered a cookout tray and added a cheer wine to it. And Lori was like, what is that? Mona bought a case for her baby.
Absolutely. Absolutely. See, I am not alone.
Brad, she did the same thing. She did the same thing. Once she got a taste of that cheer wine, every time we would come down to Charlotte, we would get back up the road. We'd stop at a Food Lion in Salisbury, and Lori would go into the grocery store and buy cases of cheer wine. And while we would be up in New York, every now and then I could see Lori just sipping on a can every now and then.
You got to ration that out.
Slowly. This was hilarious because I would just see her going, and I would just be like, "Hey, you are really enjoying that cheer wine." And then she felt bad for me. So then when we would go, she would get so many cases of regular cheer wine, and then she would get so many cases of diet cheer wine, just to make sure that I wasn't left out. But we'd be sitting up in New York, drinking on cheer wine, even to the point that she would take some of the cans to her job at the time for some of the big wigs there that were up in New York and didn't have access to any cheer wine.
And they loved it.
Of course they did. So
I think I brought you some cheer wine when I was going to Philadelphia visiting. We brought some cheer wine and Sun Drop.
Yeah, cheer wine and Sun Drop. Look. Yeah, she was totally done. Between that and Bowberry biscuits from Bojangles, it just changed her life. So,
and my House of Aubrey's flour.
And the House of Aubrey flour for
so we got fried my chicken.
Yeah, chicken and fish.
And get my fat back.
See, Brad, the only thing I just couldn't convert her to was liver mush.
Ooh.
I'm still working on it. Liver mush and chitlins are on the list. So
It's like a lot of things. You can't tell people what's in the sauce before you give it to them. You just got to give it to them, let them love it, and then explain to them what they
then
deserve.
explain it to them, and then make them make a choice.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Living this life.
Hey, listen. He says also found Tahitian treat. Haven't seen those in 30 years. We do have some Tahitian treat. Those fruit punches.
Yeah, we have everything needed for diabetic.
Yes, if you need everything to either clog your arteries or jack up your sugar, I mean, come on south. I mean, we're here for it. And twice on Tuesday. But anyway, back to the Joe Biden fiasco.
Yes.
So Joe Biden did really what a lot of progressives will say was the bare minimum. He announced some student debt relief of $10,000 for some students that made under $125,000 or making under $125,000 a year. If you received a Pell Grant, there's an additional $10,000, which would make it a total of $20,000. And this, to me, is decent. It's acknowledging that there are people that are struggling with a lot of their student loan debt, but you're getting a lot of people, and I'm not going to just say on the right, but mostly on the right, but there's some on the left, for whatever reason, feel like that was the word that they use is a word that I cannot believe is being thrown out there. You may disagree with the politics. I'm not telling you if you're a Republican that you have to agree with everything Democrats do, no more than Democrats will agree with everything Republicans do. But the word that I kept hearing more than anything to fight this is the word unfair. Before I go all ham, what do y'all think about the word unfair being used to be tied to this?
Well, so let me, I'll go in for just a second, just small spam and stuff. So first of all, congratulations, Joe Biden. Not just with this, but you've had some really good policy wins, which I didn't see in the first 6, 8, 12 months of your presidency. And so you're doing a lot. And I'd hate to think that maybe that they didn't do as much early because people are their memory's so short that had they done these things by the time that the primaries, midterms rolled around, that voters would have forgot. And so I do think that like this latest thing is part of that. Understand this when it comes to debt and stuff in the United States and paying your dues and stuff. The United States does not believe in that. How do I know? Because they won't pay reparations. And so if they're all about you should pay what you owe, then you should pay what you owe. So we know it's not about that. The other thing too is that one of the things that Democrats have lacked for me is a backbone, especially when they have policy wins and stuff. And so for all the Republicans that tweeted out about how horrible it was and it wasn't unfair because there are people who didn't pay this and who didn't go to school and they should pay all their stuff back. The White House, the official White House Twitter account for every Republican that said that posted all their PPP loan forgiveness amounts and stuff, and nothing was $10,000 or $20,000. We're talking about legislators.
$189,000
$1 million forgiven. So they understand about taking out loans and getting those things forgiven and stuff. They just did it. And so it's a little, it's incredible that they have the gall to sit up there and talk about people getting forgiven $10,000 or $20,000. Oh, and Pell Grants. I think there's a stat out there that says about 80% of Pell Grants, almost 80% of Pell Grants go to minorities. And so, and
Pell Grants, and Pell Grants are awarded based on income.
Yes. And
so when they're making these false equivalencies about millionaires' kids getting these forgiveness programs from Pell Grants, they're trolling you.
Yes, they are, because they absolutely know that most of the people who are gonna qualify for this, they're not millionaires. They don't, this is a country that allows a millionaire to write off a jet or a boat, but only allows a school teacher to write off like $250 worth of supplies for your children. People don't have a problem with giving people with money more money, and they have a real problem with helping poor people, but they don't have a problem sitting up on Sunday talking about how Christian they are. So priorities maybe, but being fair, I can go on. We don't have enough time in this show for me talking about what is and what is not fair. But I can tell you about what hypocrisy looks like, and this whole issue stinks of it. When you talk about how much money we have, nobody that one time questioned where the PPP loan money was coming from. They just wanted it. Right. And not only did they wanted it, they sit there and turn around and they wanted it forgiven once they got it. And no one asked about that.
Jermaine, here's the thing. The ones that used it were the ones that voted against it.
They voted against it.
They tried everything they could to kill the PPP loan, to absolutely kill it, right?
Yep.
And then as soon as it was available, oh, well, might as well use it. So I love the fact, like you said, that the White House official page said, you know what? Enough of this crap. We got receipts. Marjorie Taylor Greene used the word unfair, talking about people being lazy and everything else. Marjorie Taylor Greene had $183,504 forgiven in PPP loans.
Yep.
You had another congressman, Vern Buchanan. Vern Buchanan voted against it. He had $2.3 million forgiven. You know what forgiven means, y'all? You ain't got to pay it back. Not being paid back. You also had Mark Wayne Mullen, who had $1.4 million forgiven.
Yep.
Kevin Kern had over $1 million forgiven. Mike Kelly, $987,000. Matt Gaetz, $482,000. But $20,000? That's the hill you want to die on?
Well, because they're so full, and so the problem with modern day Republicans are they're more about cancel culture and hashtags and not policy, right? Not actually serving their citizens and stuff. And you say, Jermaine, well, maybe you're being a little too hard. I don't know. Have you been to Mississippi lately? Because if you have,
yes, they have no water.
In Jackson,
that's it.
And the government just sent back like $100 million. Now they're asking for more money from the federal government stuff because they're like, well, we don't like handouts and stuff. And what it is that it's systematically the people in that city, which I don't understand. But anyway, but the governor there has constantly let his citizens down and stuff, and now they don't have clean drinking water. And if you think that the fact that Jackson and Michigan,
Flint,
and Flint, that are dominant African American cities. There's not institutional racism in there because they're not trying to serve people. This $10,000 forgiveness, a lot of people say, like I said, it's bare minimum and stuff, but it's something. It's a step in the right direction, and there's nothing to say that he can't do it again.
You know what? If I was him, I would say, if y'all keep on talking, I'm gonna do another 10.
Yeah.
Because where was the outrage when we gave banks back all this money in the bailouts? Where was the outrage when we gave the auto industry? Where was the outrage during COVID when we helped prop up the airline industry? Where's all this outrage when we sit there and we look after these CEOs and when they run? And you know what was really funny? And Brad, I'm gonna answer your question. You know what was really funny? I sat there and listened to Judge Janine go into this whole thing about you're the one that took out the debt. If you say that you're gonna pay, then you're expected to pay. Okay, ask Donald Trump how them bankruptcies going. Because I think of 6 times when he was supposed to pay and he didn't pay and he went into bankruptcy. And all that just went away. So you say those things and then you turn right back around and you guys do bankruptcies and your company goes under, the CEOs escape with golden parachutes and everything else. And there's no clutching of the pearls talking about unfairness. Jermaine just sat there and talked about Flint, Michigan, Jackson, Mississippi, countries in the United States of America, but we're America first. And they can't get no clean drinking water. But we're America first, though, except when we're not. So it was just really rich. When they said that word unfair, I mean, it was almost like fingernails against the chalkboard to me. It was like, are you effing kidding me? How you could say a lot of things. I don't like Joe because of this. I don't like Joe because of that. And I love the fact, too, that they're leaning into the Brandon thing by calling him Dark Brandon. I think it's just great. Because now that they're kind of trolling him, they're calling him Dark Brandon. I don't know if you caught that one.
Yeah, I saw that.
Hey, that's great. You know, if you want to call him, you know what? It was like when Obama finally said, you know what? We call it the Affordable Care Act. But if you want to call it Obamacare, then damn it, just call it Obamacare. Whatever. Brad asked, not being sarcastic, but have any of them responded to that? Haven't heard a peep. They can't respond. They ain't said a peep about White House calling them out like that.
No.
They ain't said a thing.
No one responds to that kind of stuff. And again, because it's not about substance, because their argument wasn't about substance. It's like, you know, I don't want to jump ahead and stuff, like the stuff that's going on with Donald Trump right now and his legal woes and stuff. None of the defense is about substance, it's about performance. And that's the problem with a lot of politicians, is that they perform, they're performance based, but they don't do any problem solving. They're not doing anything. And then, like as my brother mentioned earlier, when a policy does get pushed that they voted against, once the benefit comes into their area and stuff, then they uphold it like, hey, we got all this money for roads and stuff. But you didn't vote for it.
That's what I'm so disappointed with. Every time they do that, the Democrat that is running against them needs to show the votes and the receipts to say he is touting it now, but when it came up to vote, he didn't vote for it. And then you'll get someone say, well, I didn't like the other things in the bill, so I voted it down.
I think part of the problem and part of the problem is that we don't listen to the things that offend us. Like, I don't have a Truth Social account because I don't want to hear about that redneck ass shit on my goddamn phone, right? I don't want to hear that bullshit. I don't look at Newsmax. I don't fucking look at Fox News and stuff because I know who my mama and my daddy are, and they're not fucking related, right? So you know, I've got some real stuff about me that I don't have to listen to that bullshit, and so it's hard to talk to normal people about that. Or talk to those fucked up inbreeds over there on Fox News and stuff who listen to that Newsmax and all this corny ass shit and stuff and don't know their goddamn parents and stuff and kiss their sister in the goddamn mouth. It's hard because the information that the Democrats are getting out is not being displayed in an arena that they can consume the information and stuff.
Right.
The problem now that Trump is facing is that with all these charges and stuff, even with the performance and stuff, with the facts coming out, and so the worst thing they've ever because you know it's his circle is falling apart on the morons and around and stuff, right? So he's got the dumbest lawyers and stuff asking for different things, and well, show us the receipts, and then they start showing the receipts and stuff, and then they have to address it, the facts of what it is and stuff, and it doesn't look good. Their big thing is separation, and that's why they had to create their own platform for social media.
Right. Let me ask you this: if your daughters change their stories that many times, they gonna get an ass whooping, ain't they?
Not in front of social services. No, sir. We're gonna talk this out. We're gonna pray about it.
You know, when you get caught doing something wrong, and you've moved the goalpost as many times as these people have to, it was declassified, and if it wasn't declassified, it was planted. If it wasn't planted, you had a right to have it there because even though there's the classification process, he did it on the way. He had a standing order that anything that went to the residences was declassified. I had it. Yeah, it was all locked up.
So here's one of the things about the declassification thing, just real quick. So he says, as president, I have the right to declassify anything. Well, he's not president anymore. He hasn't been president and stuff. As soon as he left office, Joe Biden reclassified it. So it's still classified. So the argument of the president gets to classify and the unclassified stuff doesn't work for him because he's not the current president. So he can't say the files are declassified because the current president didn't do it. And even if he had done it, it's just like an executive order. Well, I say no. So
And well, it's not even that though. And just to dig a little bit more onto that before we go into what I don't like real quick for 3 minutes, is even if it was declassified, let's just say, for instance,
let's just say it was.
he did, you still can't take it home. It still has to, because some of the information is still so sensitive because it could have things like they're about spy informations and human assets. You can't just have them sitting in your office when your lawyer today said, oh, it wasn't all over the floor. He had it in a box in his office, and we've had plenty of people in his office.
I'm sorry. Here's my thing for that. That is like a drug dealer looking at the evidence when they've gone through his house and they got all the cocaine lined up and they got all the guns and stuff on the table. And him going, that's not how I had all those guns and that drugs.
Yeah.
I didn't just leave them out
That's
like
not
that.
a good representation of my operation.
Yeah.
I got scales over here.
I'm not that kind of messy.
I got tubes over there. I got baggies over there. Yeah, right, Brad. It was still on the premises. The problem is two things. It was there. Then they tried to say, well, all they had to do was ask. They didn't have to sit there and come raid the place. What the hell do you think the subpoena was? They subpoenaed you. They came and they said, we need this stuff back. If you had made a well-intentioned mistake, you would have just simply given it back. The fact that you tried to hide it, you said it was all in the storage room for one thing, and they said put a lock on it, at least to keep it somewhat safe. And then you say, okay, everything's in there. Then your attorney signs off and says, okay, we gave everything back. Then they do a raid because somebody tipped them off. But they did a raid. Oh, I'm sorry. They did a search and they said, hey, we know y'all still got some more stuff, but we know you're not going to be upfront and do this in good faith. So we're going to come in there. Here's the thing. And I said this on the last show, Jermaine. It's so funny how they sit there and talk about black folks that get caught up with law enforcement. If only you had complied. If only you had complied. Now, I'm saying to all the Trump people, what are y'all mad about? If he had only complied with what law enforcement asked him for, none of this would have happened. This is a whole scandal of his own doing. None of it had to have happened. If they told him originally, they've been dancing with him for a year. If they came to you and said, hey, listen, it looked like maybe you took some stuff that was ours and we're going to kind of need it back. And they're having these ongoing conversations. If that had been me, or Jermaine, or Eric Snowden, or Julian Assange, they'd be wanting us in Leavenworth right now. Period.
Well, Donald Trump talking about, Julian Assange and that stuff. He said they should be executed. So I'm just saying, I mean,
Yeah,
that's what he said.
I mean, all his rallies, I believe the cry was lock her up. And trying to compare this lastly to Hillary Clinton is absolutely absurd. Hillary Clinton had a server in her house while serving the position of Secretary of State. He is not the sitting president. I know half of the nation wants to believe that him and JFK have this plan to be reinstated. It's not going to happen. And lastly, Brad said, right, it's still government property. Oh, he had also mentioned about Jackson, Mississippi. Tucker Carlson laughed at Jackson Mayor Lumumba last night, which is Tucker Carlson. And also Brad says, I want that MF treated like a poor person, throw all the charges at him and force them to fight each and every one. Totally agree with you, bro. Let's close this out, y'all. We got 2 minutes. What I don't like. Lori?
Oh, no. Why don't you go ahead? Because I know you got several things you don't like.
Jermaine, what you got? I know there's something burning you don't like. Give me one thing you don't like.
No, I'm good, man. I'm good. I mean, I can't say there's a lot of things that I don't like this week. I think I got most of my anger out. Between here and therapy, I'm doing pretty good.
I don't like, and I'm going to go into this, I don't like Joe Biden trying to separate MAGA Republicans from regular Republicans. Joe, there's not much of a difference. you have to understand you're bringing up MAGA Republicans in the light, and I know what you're trying to do. You're trying to divide the Republican Party into two factions and to say that there's some really, really extreme effed up elements, white nationalists, Christian nationalists, and all of that stuff in this MAGA party that's just trying to burn everything down and be totally extreme. And then you're trying to, in the same side, reach out to the more sensible Republicans. Joe, my question is this. Did those sensible Republicans vote for the PPP? Or did those sensible Republicans, a majority of them, vote for an infrastructure plan? Did those same sensible Republicans not bump fist on the floor of Congress as they voted against health care for veterans that were exposed to fire pits? Were those MAGA Republicans or were those Republicans? Were those Republicans that vote against child tax credits? Were those the same sensible Republicans that are voting for anti-abortion laws, even in the case of rape and incest, forcing 14-year-olds to leave their state to get an abortion instead of having their rapist babies? Are those the sensible Republicans? Are those the ones you're talking to? Because I can't tell anymore who's a MAGA Republican and who's the more responsible Republicans, because we ain't seen none of them since Donald Trump came. So I'm going to assume that your silence is your complicity in this. If you were it's like the whole thing with the good cop, bad cop. If you're a good cop and you watch a bad cop do bad things, then you, by definition, MF, are a bad cop too.
That's got real wound up about this.
Yeah, pretty much.
I was just thinking, I don't like it. The old school drink machines where I can't use my credit card on. I ain't got $1. Mine's way lower than yours. Yeah. That's what I was just thinking of. Like, you know what?
We had a lot. We had a lot this week. I could go on and on about that. I don't like seeing my sons.
I guess you don't like you. Like y'all both.
What it means is I don't like not seeing my sons.
Okay.
That's why I'm going to so you can see us.
I'm going to assume. Well, moms, you can always see us every Thursday at 6 p.m. And she corrected it, not every Thursday at 6 p.m. And hold on, Erica says, what I don't like is when someone asks me if we sell something, I say no, and they ask somebody else. I guess her no sounded better than mine. Hey, Erica, you know what? It was funny. I just shared this story with somebody, an owner of a hotel, before I go, about the fact that because we were talking about some people are just ignorant and don't understand things. And I said, you know, I've been in the hotel business for 30 years. And I had an instance before where it wasn't what I was telling the guy. It was who was telling the guy. And I was the manager, and he just could not wrap himself around the fact that somebody that did not look like him was telling him something. So I had somebody that was not in management that looked more like him tell him the same thing that I said, and it was received and accepted quite easily. So a lot of the owners that I deal with are Asian American. They're Indians from India, and they sometimes don't understand that it's not what you're saying, it's what you look like, and that's just keeping it real. But I definitely don't like that. Sarah Parker, I see what you're saying. Like I was saying, you can catch me on Head to Head Sports every Wednesday at 6 p.m. She said in person. Well, you know, that can always happen too. We're very busy. I completely understand that. Yeah, yeah, it's crazy, but 2022 having a Black president, having a female African American vice president are good accomplishments, but it doesn't mean that we're where we need to go. You know, we still have a long way to go to get there, and we have to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. That's why we cannot give these folks an inch, because they will take a mile. That's all I have for this week. I'd like to thank my panelists, Lori Lolo Parker, Jermaine the Franchise and your favorite realtor. Check him out, y'all. If you're looking to buy a house, this is the way to go. And we will catch you guys again next week. Y'all take care. See you then.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it.
And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. Comma and a comma. Gotta get it. And it's a ticket talking Mazda for the biggest. That's a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta get it. I'm a comma and a comma and a comma. Gotta